Hi there folks, before I get this rather long-winded video underway, I'd like to take this opportunity to thank Murdy's mum, Paula Saliki, 4x4 Girl and Grace Castro for requesting or suggesting that they would like to see this old boy doodling. And boy, does this old boy enjoy not only doodling but rambling, and this video is rather long, so let's get it underway. Okay folks, here we go. Barry's brain playtime, and I'm going to let you join in on it. Right, now I'm going to assume, just like everybody else, you had no real way of knowing that you was going to suddenly find yourself in lockdown, so therefore you wouldn't have had the opportunity to go out and buy lots of odds and ends in preparation for this. I'm very lucky, I've got a lot of materials around, but that is me, and this is all about you, it's not about me. So look, here's my breakfast here. I'm going to take my egg and I'm going to put my egg to one side. And I have been raiding my good lady Colleen's kitchen and see what I can find. Look, I've got instant coffee here. So I'm going to put a spoonful of coffee in there. Well, a little bit more than a spoon because I just dropped some. There we go. And to that I shall add just a little tag of hot water. That's enough, I think. Maybe a little bit more. There we go. Certainly you don't want to swamp the whole egg cup, because look, we're not going to drink it. So it will be a little bit on the strong side. He says that. I've now lost my spoon. Where's my spoon? No, I've lost my spoon. Now, would you believe this? I can actually sit down in a chair and I can lose a brush or a pencil. I've found it. There we go. Give it a little stir up. Right, now, having done that, I shall now put that to one side. And I've got some computer paper there. Here's my little egg cut back, and I'm very lucky. When I say lucky, I've got some marbles. I think I've just lost my marbles. Oh look, I've got a whole bag of these, but you might only have one. You might not even have a marble, so not to worry, we'll find alternative means for that. So get the kids to stir that up. Pick the marble up and drop it like so. Is it going to roll? No, it's not going to roll. Not to worry, I'll just pick it up and drop it again. Roll, roll marble, roll. There we go. Force rolling. I know what it is. The marble is a bit coffee stuck, so I'm going to wash the marble in that hot water. There we go. Now pop it back into the coffee and see if it will roll. There, it's rolling. Doesn't want to roll very much. Whoa, there we go. It's off and away. Right, now, when you do this sort of thing, don't go and overdo it, because it will leave you with nowhere to doodle, and you need space to doodle. So, look, I used a marble on this particular case. I'm now just assuming that you haven't got a marble. What else have I got? Oh, I'm so disorganised. Ah, right. I've got a toothbrush. Right, now I can just plonk it down like so, or I can actually spray it. Oh, that's beautiful. Love that, love it. There we go. Right, it's like I said, don't overdo it. Leave yourself a little bit of space. Failing that, well, you could cover the whole thing up if you want to, but this is only suggestion here. I'll get in a bit closer. Oh, look at that. Look at that. Oh, wow, I love that. If you haven't got a toothbrush, look, I've got a bottle cleaner here, but I can use this, but I don't want to spoil that one. I love that one. Yes, I will spoil it. I'm going to hit some of those big blobs. There we go. Right, now what I'm doing here, it looks as though I'm playing, but in actual fact it does have a serious side to it. With my students, we always get this problem of they turn around and say, well look, it's alright for you, you're an artist, you've got an imagination. I haven't, and that is not true. We've all got an imagination, not necessarily in this art line. Don't let's go there. So what I do is I go through this voluntary exercise, and I say voluntary because it is not a compulsory for the whole class. So those who are interested, what I do is I start doing this, and when they do theirs, and it is human nature, they look at the students next to them, and the student next to them, their work or little splobs are far more interesting than theirs. Once again, that is human nature again. So what I do is when they've done them, I get them to pass to one side so they get somebody else's. Then they'll turn around and say, well, why did you pass to the left? That person on the right had a more interesting one. But it really doesn't matter. They can pass it around 2 or 3 times and I can say stop, right? So in this particular case, what I want you to do, I want you to just sit and think and look at that just for a little while. Now, it may well be that you don't have brushes, so I will use a pencil in this particular case, okay? So I'm going to cut out just for a moment and let that dry off, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn it round at different angles. It's a bit like looking into a bonfire or into the clouds and letting your imagination flow. Children, I have no problem with children on this because they haven't got your gremlins, and your gremlins are, oh, mine's got to be perfect, mine's got to be better than the child's, or whatever the case might be. Well, that is really a little unfortunate, because you need to take your mind back to when you weren't quite so sophisticated, and kids, they don't care. They just say, oh, that looks like that, and off they go. And you need the same sort of attitude. And the fact that I'm using domestic stuff around here and not art material as such. By the way, I don't know if I mentioned, this is computer paper. You can use the back of old computer paper if you've got some. What have I got? Have I got a piece here? No, I haven't got an old piece here. But you can use the back, alright? So if this one doesn't work, let it dry out, just turn it over. And the other thing which I do with my students, and once again, this is quite serious. I get the group of students who want to volunteer to have a go at this, and I tell them to put all their art equipment away, including their colours, or their cups of tea or coffee, whatever it is they got, and they go down into the yard and they search for something in which to make art. They come back with grass and leaves and bits of soil and all sorts of things, and from that we will start to construct some sort of imaginary collage, or they'll soak the leaves and they'll wring them out and they're a nice little pale green, but we know the pale green will go off in the ultraviolet light, but it doesn't matter. It's just a passing sort of phase, and they've got no brushes and they've got no pencils, so therefore they're going to have to use the back of their nail or whatever it is they're going to do. And that is about appreciating the materials which they've got in their bag, right? They've got brushes, they've got colours in there, and some of the colours are quite stable in comparison to chewed up grass. So I'm going to cut out here and just let this dry off. I'm back, folks. The other one hasn't dried off, but look, I just had another scatterbrain idea. Look, I've been and nicked the plug and chain off the bath. She doesn't know yet. When she comes down and finds her cupboard doors disappearing and bath plug gone, but she can still have the plug. Now look, I've dipped it into the coffee there, and I'm going to drop it down, and I'm going to just wiggle it round, and then I'm going to drag it like so. Wow! Look at this. Look at that. Can you see it? I'm going to zoom in on that one. I haven't got my monitor on, by the way, folks, so if I'm a little bit off, look at that. Oh, there. Oh, love it, love it. Right, I'm going to let them dry off. While I'm waiting for those two items to dry, I'm going to just ramble on about doodling. And doodling is in actual fact in our DNA. And mankind has always done it. And some of it, obviously, the majority of it was mental, but some of it was physical, and we only know the physical side because he's left traces of his doodling. And he started putting his hands on the cave walls, and many generations later, we're talking about evolution and innovation. He learnt a new way of doing it, and that was by using his hand as a stencil. And he did this by taking a mouthful of cinder or mud, chewing it up and spitting it on his hand. Hence his hand was the stencil. And that was his way of actually saying, I was here. Sorry, I'm trying to concentrate on what I'm actually doing here. There we go. Right, now, I shall now remove my hand. That is the record which that person left on the cave wall. And, okay, it is primitive. He was primitive. And he didn't have your advantages of instant coffee and a toothbrush. Right, now I need to go and wash my hands. because a beautiful tan. Nobody's ever going to believe that I've been self-isolating indoors. Right, go and wash my hands and I'll come back. I have another idea here for you. Bearing in mind that in the UK we are a nation of tea drinkers more than coffee. So when working with my students, I use tea. And look, I've got a tea bag and I've got it in a mug, and I've put just over a centimetre of water in there and let it go cool. Here we go. Right, now below you will see my clipboard, and when I say below, it's on the floor. Right, so what I'm now going to do is I'm going to take this tea bag and I'm going to try and drop it more or less in the centre of my clipboard. Not a very good shot, that one. Anyway, just take it out and I will do it again. I'll get a little bit closer this time. There we go. Oh, that's a beauty, that one. So let's lift that away. Very gently, straight up. Right, now I'm going to leave that to dry and we'll have a look at those. Meanwhile, I shall go away and make myself a cup of very delicate tea. No, it really does not matter about the making. PG chips, Tetleys, or Earl Grey. Earl Grey might be a little bit weaker, but I will often make myself a cup of tea and move my clipboard, and then I'm going to call the dog in. She's up for a little drop of tea. Let her clean the floor up. Right folks, I'm back, and my little splashabouts have had a chance to dry, and my imagination is now starting to flow. Look, what have I got? Look, I've got here a dog's head. There's the eyes, got the ears, there's the nose on the end there, and a little tiny mouth. I could work around that area and work that up, but look, I've got a bigger area here. If I take that same dog's eye and imagine that as a cap there, look, I've got a witchy type face, and look, it's flowing out down the back round there, so it's got nice movement. And here's her body coming round here, and there's her little bottom there. Here's her knees, there's her leg, and there's her foot, and she's riding on a rather strange abstract sort of bird. So here's the bird's neck, and the beak. I could put an eye on there, and here's the lovely bit. I can use this because these are the bird's wings going like the clappers. So or better still, like the flappers. So there is a lot of movement and a lot of action in that one. But I've now got, if I turn that around, I've got a marsh monster just coming out of the swamp there. Look, there's his leg and there's his foot, still in a lot of action going on there. And here's the drippings of the marshy stuff dropping off it. Here's his tail. And here's his head. Look, he's got a little mouth. I could put an eye on there. And he's stomping his way out of the marshes. So I love this guy. I might just work on that one. Look, he's even got his little fist out there. So I can now put that to one side, and we'll look at the second one. And this one, I'm struggling a little bit on this one. Well, I'm not struggling a little bit, I'm struggling a lot. It's all very fragmented. nothing there getting my imagination going. So I'm going to turn it around that way. Because just because I haven't got the imagination doesn't mean to say you have not got the imagination to see something I'm missing. So let's turn it around again. There is a possibility of some sort of squirrel or something coming down there. There's this tile and there's a leg coming out there. I don't know, I might be able to do something with that, but it's a bit patchy on the there. So look, I'm not going to panic about this. What I can do is I can re-splash it, right? I could throw a tea bag at it, you know, around about that area there, and see what actually comes out of that. But before I go and do that, I'm going to show you what we can and cannot do with these little coffee splodges. So let me move down onto that one. Here we go. Look, I've got my coffee grouts there, and I've got a cotton bud. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little splob on there, and then look, I've got a straw. Right, what you see is what you get. And I am still working on the basis that you do not have the equipment which I have around me. So that's one sort of process. Now, I'm now even going to go so far as to assume that you don't even have a straw. So look, I've got a ballpoint pen. I'm going to take that out. I've now got a little blower which I can actually blow with. Now my head will get in the way, but let's see what happens. There's my blob. Nothing's happened. Oh, it's blocked up. Okay, look. Now I could use the pencil, and I can just, and I'm talking about very, very lightly now, because the paper is very thin. It's also fragile now. So if you're working with children alongside, chances are they're going to dig a hole. Can you see that? Let's get around there. Okay, so here's another alternative. If you've got a cocktail sticks around, what I would suggest you do is just nick the end off with a pair of scissors because it's too sharp. Just nick the end off, and then very, very lightly, you'll get finer lines with this, by the way. Look. And it's like I say, you've got to be very, very gentle. And whoop, I nearly dug a hole in there. What I can do is I can dip in my coffee and I can just plonk it on the ends. Oh, that's beautiful. Now, whether this goes right or wrong, it will go wrong, and I will mess things up. But look, I'm just practicing it on here before I go and attempt it on here. So, what else have we got? Well, you know you've got the process, you can flick with your toothbrush again, but we want to get some sort of control back over this now. So what I'm thinking of is that the cotton bud and the toothpick will probably work for what I actually need. Let me see what else I've got here. no, that's about it. What I will do now is I'm now going to show you something else, he says very casually, and I haven't got anything to do this, so I'm going to come back to this one. And I was talking about putting an eye on that little bird, and so what I have got here, when you can find it, get another toothpick. Bear with me on this one, folks. I'm making it up as they're not toothpicks. Right. Okay, I'll go with my pencil. This is, by the way, toothpaste, and I'm going to put it onto one of these little tiny blobs here, and you won't see it until it dries. When that dries, let me zoom that down if I can. Right, there it is. When that dries, it will dry much whiter. Now there's no point in me taking it out past the little blob because it's on white paper and you won't see it. So it only works when you're working on something with a slightly more dense colour there. Now I'm going to stop this and I need to look back to see what I've managed to get on my clip, because I've got an awful lot of gremlins going on my memory card or my camera. I'm not sure what it is. It looks good. When I pop it up on the computer, the end is missing, so I'm having to do some of these as repeats, and I'm useless at repeats, by the way. I'm not quite so spontaneous with my thinking, and I become a little bit sort of self-conscious. So that's enough about my problems. Let's keep moving on. Right folks, last shot was good. I've now got a bit of scrap paper here, and look what I've got. I've got tomato ketchup, I've got piccalilli, I've got a bit of mustard, bit of blackcurrant jam, and a little bit of Marmite. So let's see what I can do with that. Let's start with the tomato ketchup. No, not too bad. It's a bit on the squidgy side. So we move on. Look, I've even got, yeah, loo roll. Nick from the bathroom along with her plug. Right, let's try the mustard. Oh, that's not very good at all. Never mind. Go on to the piccalilli. Oh, that's quite nice. Bit delicate. Right, we'll try the strawberry, or was it blackcurrant? I think it's strawberry. Yeah, that's strawberry. Oh, that's not very good at all. Mind you, I did lick my finger. Maybe that was made it a little bit too moist. So let's now try the Marmite. Not everybody's cup of tea, this one. Not that good. You either love it or you hate it. Right, now I'm now going to go one better, and I've got, wait for it, food colouring and Another cotton bud. Look, money no object here. So what can I do with this? I can do little blobs. I can't spread it out because it's not fluid enough. I've also got another food colour in here. Look, I'm going to use the other end of the cotton bud. Waste not, want not. Oh, that's quite nice. Right, let me zoom that in. Right, not very exciting. The Marmite didn't work at all. Tomato ketchup here was not too bad. There we go. Look, that's not too bad. So I now have a rough idea what I've got or what options are open to me. So I will now go back and actually have a look at my little splash ups and check that this little clip has come out. And the winner today, folks, is tomato ketchup and a spring onion. Reasons for that will become clear as I go along. Right, now I need to change the situation which I've got here, and whether or not it will work or not I don't know, but oh look, I've got nothing to lose. The reason for the spring onion is because my fingers are too big and I'll just end up with far too much tomato ketchup on here. So look, make sure I'm in line. That didn't work too well. There we go. And by the way, that Biro blow pen did work. When I looked at my clip, I suddenly realised that in actual fact I couldn't see what I was doing, and I actually missed the wet spot. So here we go. 1, 2, 3, mother quarter 3. Now look, this is not perfect. It is not meant to be perfect. It is about stimulating your imagination. This exercise is not about what you do not have. Like you may not have the food colouring, which her indoors, old Mother Hubbard, has in her cupboard. This is about stimulating your imagination. Now, you may not have too much in your cupboard, but you've got an awful lot in your imagination. It's just that you need something to stimulate it, and this is really what I'm actually doing here. I don't want to do, or it will just end up as a tomato ketchup painting. So I'm now going to stop that and just check back on my little gremlins on my camera. While my tomato ketchup is drying off, I'm going to come back to my little marsh monster. As I said, I really quite like him, and I'm not going to do too much to him, by the way, but I'm going to come back with my cocktail stick, and I'm just going to decorate him a little bit, make him look a little smarter. There we go. not too much. Less is more. I really need to leave as much to the imagination as I can. But I'm going to do something to his tail. And I'm going to put on a little blob. And I'm not going to blow it. It's too small, I'll miss it. And I'm now turning to the sharp end of my cocktail stick and just give him a little bit of more movement in there. A little bit more like a lion's tail in actual fact. Let me have a look. I think I'm going to leave that alone now. He says he always goes and does a little bit more, this boy. Let's give him an eye. Oh, I mustn't mind his tail. Turn that round. Where will his eye go? Let's say there. Don't know if you can see that. I'm now going to leave that one alone, he says. I've just had a thought. Can I give a little bit more movement on his tail? A little bit. Yes, I can. There we go. Right, now it looks as though it's in movement. Stop, stop, stop. Oh, I'm going to mess it up. Right, I'm now going to put this one to one side and check my clip and go back to see if my tomato ketchup has now dried. Tomato ketchup now dry, and so I'm going to come back with a little bit of more of my coffee work on this, because I'm now starting to take some sort of control. Now I'm a little bit gutted because I didn't mean to do that one at the top there. I can't multitask anymore. So what I'm going to do, I wanted one high at the top there, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put on a little tiny blob of coffee. And take it out like my practice piece. I'm trying to keep in line with the camera here. There we go. Take that out and put some little tiny blobs on the end, because I don't want it to look like a spider. But I like it and it's interesting. And I'm going to put another one down here to keep my composition, because I'm losing a bit of the balance on this one. So whereas all the other ones were random, I'm now starting to take some sort of control over the situation. Providing I don't go and dig a hole in there, which is very easy to do. And put some blobs on the end of there. There we go. I'm on the sharp end. I should have been on the blunt end on that one. And I'm going to put one or two little blobs out here. It's like I said, I'm trying to get a little bit of composition or a little bit of balance here. Got to be very, very careful when you do something like that, because you end up with symmetrical dice. and this is about nature, not about dices. But I'm now, no he's not. I'm now, look, seeing as I managed to put that little bit on the marsh monster's tail, I'm now going to do the same down here. I'm going to put a second little blob underneath, and look, I've got a stem on there now. Yeah, that seems to work. Should I put another? No, if I put another one out there. No, I'm not going to put another one out there. Look, I'm going to stop messing about. I'm going to let this one dry, and then I'll come back again. It's a pity I went that way. It would have done better to come around that way. But there you go, look. I'm learning as I go along. Right, I have here a piece of folded white paper. Now look, I'm not going to suddenly go into origami or anything like that. I'm going to create a little butterfly, and it may well be that you're working alongside a child who can't draw it freehand. So look, here's the scissor handles. I'm drawing round the inside on the lower, and then on the upper petal I'm going to draw on the outside. That gives me the two sizes of butterfly wings. Well, I will now cut that out with a pair of scissors. You don't need to see me doing that. Oh, by the way, the dogs just enjoyed licking up the tomato ketchup. I've now cut myself two of these little butterflies, and so what I'm going to do is that I'm going to just experiment on one of them, and I'm going to put my big blob on, and then I'm going to take my straw and give it a starburst. Then do the same on the other wing. I can now put that to one side, let that dry off, and then on the other one I'm going to, when I can find my, would you believe it, I can't find that toothpick now. One moment. I'm going to have a little bit more control over this one, and I'm going to put my little spots on. Around the outside. Make sure I've got the sharp end, and I'm just going to drop them in. That's rather nice, I quite like that. So on the lower wing, I'll just put a spot on there, like so, and then I'm going to take that one out. There we go. I might even go so far as to scallop the wings. Got to be very careful here. Okay, I can now switch the camera off and sit down and work out what it is I actually want to do there. Well, the butterfly will need a body, So here's the butterfly body with little spots. Yeah, I think that's going to work. I'm going to go back and have a look at this little item here, which went a little bit pear-shaped on me. Look, the actual head itself was absolutely fine. When I came to put a stem on it, I noticed that it came out rigid. It had no life to it. Looked unnatural. And I know what it is. It was the tension in me. And the tension starts in the head. And I'm really thinking about the camera and not thinking about what I'm actually doing on there. So as a result of which, I was not relaxed. So look, I've put another little blob on top there. And I've now got 3 in a line. Now, if I wanted a centipede, look, I'm going in the right direction. The problem is, it would have been walking out of the picture, not into the picture. And walking out shows a lack of interest in the picture itself. It's like when you've got a cow walking out the picture and not walking into the meadowed area. So, look, I'm now going to put that problem to one side. I went off and had a sweet cup of tea and a marmalade sandwich and started to relax a little bit. And I'm not going to beat myself up over that. And look, once I was relaxed, and I'm going to zoom this in, I got off camera, I put these sort of barley or wheat heads in here, and you know how I did them. I put a little tiny spot down and just eased it out nice and gently with my toothpick. So there's no smoke and mirrors. You know how I did it. Right, now I'm going to go back to the actual overall item which I've got here. And look, I've got this big blodgy area here. And I can't do anything with it. Not unless I start to use body colours and a brush. So what I've actually done, I started to cut out some little templates of little flutterbys. Right, now that, I really quite like that. It's a nice contrast between all this busyness which is going on around there. And I decorated it. And I'm not happy with the decorated bits. Well, in reality, once I started blowing coffee on them, they just turned out to be more of the same, more of this. So I love this sort of contrast which I've got there now, and I will need to just adhere it into place. So bear with me while I just get my adhesive, which, by the way, I've raided her cupboard and I've got some flour, baking flour. Now it doesn't matter whether or not it is plain flour or self-raising, it still acts as an adhesive. And this is a little item which goes back to my childhood with my sisters. I need to get that glue out of the way. When we used to make our paper chains out of cut up or torn up strips of newspaper and loop them together using this adhesive and a little bit of food colouring on them, just to try and disguise the fact that it was newspaper. I need to concentrate just for a moment while I decide where that's going to go. There we go, I'm happy with that. And I'm just going to zoom that back just a little bit more. And I have made a paper surround to go on it. And look, this little item which I was not happy about, look, I can just move that and edit it out. And just move that down so that the flutterby is what I consider to be in the right composition area of my picture. So look, I know you can't really see this one too clearly, so I will give you a still shot. I have now put a little paper mount around my little marsh monster. I just love this guy. He makes me laugh. And look, I've if I can zoom this in just a little bit, you can see that I have, there we go, I've put just a little bit of decoration on him, little spots there, and look, I've given him an eye and a little glint in his eye using the toothpaste. And there he is, look, off and away. And would you believe, look, he's off and away with her plug. Which, by the way, did not go unnoticed. My good lady indoors wanted to soak some items in the bath. And she knew I was filming, so noticed the plug was missing. So it was not until later she came down to me and said, the plug's gone. And she'd actually filled the plug up with tissues. Oh, that girl has got so much patience. Look, it's one thing being in lockdown, but being in lockdown with me is a whole new ball game. Look, I just love this movement which he's got there, and it's a one-off, by the way. Both of these two doodles are one-offs. I have not done 2 or 3 and selected them. I've gone with what I had. I have retained my little piece of folded paper from which I cut my butterflies. And look, bearing in mind when I was spraying around my hand, I can do exactly the same thing now using this as a stencil, either in the negative as they are here, or the actual butterfly, which I don't have handy. I can spray around the actual butterfly. So hang on to those. On my next vid I will be moving into using kids' colours, maybe felt tip pens or crayons, whatever is at hand. Well, there you go, folks. That video was probably not quite what you was expecting, but it does have value. It is 100% humble, but it is also 100% honest, and it does have great value not only when you're working by yourself, but if you're working with a child, or in my case working with my students. It was a great way of unifying people, because there were so many ums and ahs and laughs going on. But on a more serious side, what is actually happening is that it's unblocking your imagination. We all get little plateaus when we think, oh, what shall I draw? And you might start looking through magazines, whereas really you ought to start looking through your head. And what you need is that little item, that little ping which sets your imagination rolling. We all doodle at some point, some almost subconsciously when we're waiting for something or we're a little bit anxious, and we all tend to doodle a similar sort of thing because all our life's experiences are different. So when you was looking at my splashes, you were seeing something a little different to what I was seeing, because your lifestyle, your life experiences are different to mine. There was one aspect in there which I will go back on, and that was that rather sort of rigid matchstick line which I put on there, which was reflecting my mood at the time. And we'll all get this whatever we're painting, and we lose that little bit of confidence, and that is the moment to walk away and recover from the shock. And it is a shock, and you want to throw yourself in the bin. Well, what you actually need to do is to pull back, have a little rest, or move to a different part of your picture which is not quite so critical. So that not only affected my flow, but it also affected my speech, the way I was talking. I could hear it in my voice, that I was getting a little bit grumpy and a little bit uptight and a little bit disenchanted. So going off and having my little sugar rush was the answer. And trust me, on this particular one, I was up against my combating my gremlins in my camera, and that meant an awful lot of marmalade sandwiches and cups of tea. But I've got something which I can now send to you, and hopefully on the next one it will flow a little better when I receive my new second-hand camera. So I'll need to go back on another point here, and that was the patience of my good lady Colleen, in this case old Mother Hubbard, who lost not only a bath plug, but she's lost one of the doors off the kitchen unit, and I've raided it, so her cupboard is now bare. But needs must when the devil drives, and these are rather extraordinary times going on here. So I would also like to thank her for her patience putting up with me. So while she views this video, which she always does, because every now and again I might say something even more dafter than usual, and she'll point it out to me. Sometimes I will let it go, sometimes I won't. But while she's viewing this video, I shall go off and I shall repair her bath plug. Meanwhile, folks, enjoy it for what it is. It's no more than a little bit of fun and exercise in your imagination. And oh, by the way, just in case, I know there's always a couple of Hawkeyes out there, and you saw me with my cup of tea, and you was probably trying to read what it actually said on there. So there you go. And yes, my dog does enjoy Marmite and tomato ketchup. One thing which I did notice, I neglected to put marmalade on my palette, but there you go. That's the way the cookie crumbles. Enjoy, keep safe. Bye-bye, folks.